A very pleasant day to you all, and I welcome you to this segment on newspaper review in First News Port Harcourt. I am King Sojalo, and I will be taking you through all our newspaper headlines within the country. Looking at the trendings, we will be starting with the Nigerian Tribune. On the Nigerian Tribune, Atiku Makinde meets with IBB in Minna. You find that in page 10 of that newspaper platform. Boldly written on the Nigerian Tribune, we have Senate okays e-transmission of election results manual backup. You find that in page 3 of that newspaper platform. On the bottom or the left top right, we have NRS gets 40.71 trillion naira revenue target for 2026. Now moving on to the next newspaper platform, which is the Daily Independence. On the Daily Independence, boldly written, Tinubu asks governors to get to work on jobs, health, infrastructure. Now, on the top, we have armed force alone can't solve Nigeria's insecurity challenge. That is coming from the Chief of Defense Staff. Now, still on the top, we have Wike optimistic Tinubu's intervention with end rivers crisis. Boldly written as well on the bottom, Senate finally okays mandatory e-transmission of election results. Now, going to the next newspaper platform, which is the Matrix newspaper. On the Matrix newspaper, we have boldly written, electronic transmission, fresh rejection greets manual clause in Revive Act. You find that in page 2 of the Matrix newspaper. We also have on the top, NRS set 40.7 trillion naira revenue target for 2026. Announce collection of 28.3 trillion naira in 2025. Now, still on that, we will ensure our policies dividends are felt all over Nigeria, coming from the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, in page 9 of the Matrix newspaper, Dangote Refinery splash PMX gantry price by 25 litre per naira. I'll take that again. Dangote Refinery splash PMX gantry price by 25 litre. Now, looking at still on that newspaper platform, political tension in Rivers near ends, says Wike after Tinubu's mediation. Still on that in page 3, Labour Party crisis, Aburi faction exits as INEC back Usman Umokocha takes charge. Now, going to the Vanguard newspaper. On the Vanguard newspaper, boldly written, Electoral Act, Rodi session as Senate okays conditional ill transmission of results. You find that in page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. On the top left, Wike commit to peace, loud Tinubu intervention. You find that in page 15. Still on that, federal government ASU deal sparks outrage as only Unijust confirms payments. On the top as well, Tinubu has strengthened Nigeria federalism, says Bagudu. Find that in page 8 of that newspaper platform. Now, in page 40 on the bottom right, Atiku Makinde meets IBB in Minna. Still on that, Tinubu and I are parallel lines that will never meet, coming from the former governor of Kano State, El-Rufai. Now, going to the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper, we have boldly written, Electoral Act Amendment. Opposition protests as senators back manual result transmission. You find that in page 2 of that newspaper. Now, we also have in page 22 on the top left, states spend 455 billion naira to service foreign loans. In page 16, Nigeria sleeps on Global Corruption Index. Now, looking at still on the Punch, in page 27, Wike Fubara cause trust after Tinubu's move. Now, on the bottom left, we have Army deploys Special Force to Benue, Taraba. You find that in page 7. Still on the bottom, security guard hacked to death at Ogun Church altar. You find that in page 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. On the bottom as well, pressure mounts on Bayelsa governor over choice of deputy. You find that in page 15 of that newspaper platform. Now, going to the Daily Trust newspaper. On the Daily Trust, Senate e-transmission approval raises new questions. boldly written on that newspaper platform. Now, also on that, on the top left, U.S. to deport 97 Nigerians over immigration offense. Wow, take that again. U.S. to deport 97 Nigerians over immigration offenses. Now, still on that, on the top, 10 killed, many adopted in Kogi, Benue. We also have DSS refuses to release teenager adopted by personnel. Now, on the bottom, Atiku Makinde visit IBB, ex-VP 6, backing for ADC. You find that in page 11 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Moving ahead to the leadership newspaper. On the leadership newspaper, boldly written, Wike, by God's grace, Tinubu mediation in Rivers will be the last one. You find that in page 7. Still on that, reaction as Senate okays e-transmission of results, retains manual collation as backup. You find that in page 4 of the leadership newspaper. We also have on the side left, brothers arrested for killing, burying siblings in shallow grave. You find that in page 20. Still on that, APC congresses, crisis looms in Odo, parallel exercise imminent. You find that in page 7. Still on that, in page 7 as well, Atiku Makinde visits IBB in Mina. Now let's go to the Daily Sun newspaper. On the Daily Sun newspaper, on the top right, Nigeria's retained 26th position on corruption index, slide in global ranking. You find that in page 29 of that newspaper platform. Now, body rating, electoral bills amendments. Senate rejects real-time election results transmission. You find that in page 6 of that newspaper platform. On the bottom left, Dangote meets Burundi president explores investment opportunities in page 25. Now, in page 4, police opens trial of suspected killers of Arise TV correspondents. Now, in page 20, Tinubu has enhanced federalism, says Bagodu. Now, we also have in page 6, 2027, Makati Lamido meets in Kaduna, push for PDP reconciliation. Now, going to this day newspaper. On this day newspaper, boldly written, at night conference, Tinubu wants action, promises stronger economy. We also have, again, Senate fails to approve real-time e-transmission of poll results. Chaos lumps. On the top, NRS targets 40.71 trillion naira revenue for 2026, collected 28.3 trillion naira in 2025. Now, going to the next newspaper platform, which is the Daily Monitor. Boldly written, Senate bows to pressure, okays e-transmission of election results. Now, on the top, we have various headlines as well, which is insecurity, DHQ to deploy special force to Kwara and Niger. That is coming from the Chief of Defense Staff. You find that in page 4. Still in page 4, Dangote refinery reduced PMX price by 25 per litre. You find that in page 5 as well. Now, on the bottom, Nigeria stagnated in anti-corruption index in 2025. That is coming from CISLAC, that is SCISLAC. Now, going to the Guardian newspaper. On the Guardian newspaper, INEC under spotlight as Senate shift ground on e-transmission. You find that in page 6 of that newspaper platform. Now, we also have Russia denies report of Nigeria's mercenaries killed in Ukraine war. You find that in page 4. Now, we also have zoning rule, court battles test opposition cohesion ahead of 2027. You find that in page 6 of that newspaper platform. We also have Lagos, 12 other states to experience longer rainfall in 2026, says NEMAT. We also have in page 4, academic rule selective implementation of 40% pay rise. Now, on the Nigerian News Direct, which is our last for today, Senate under fire over election result transmission ahead of 2027. Now, on the top, I have never interfered in governance despite my relationship with Governor Abiodun, that is coming from Chief Soba. Find that in page 3. Still on that, Access Holding reaffirms commitment to South Africa expansion despite transaction delay. Find that in page 13 of the Nigerian News Direct. Now on the top as well, NRS project, 40.7 trillion naira revenue target to 2027. You find that in page 12 of that newspaper platform. Now on the bottom, NDLEA officer killed in Bono Island, drug raid. You find that in page 23 of that newspaper platform. Still on the bottom, CAC flags 248 fake companies, assesses banks of aiding compliance branches. That is in page 4 of the Nigerian News Direct. Now, I will be rounding up with this. Many thanks for being with me on this segment on Newspaper Review in First News. I am Kings Ojalo. It's a bye for now.